Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. 9 months into lease, and it's time to ask, what the heck is in my apartment? A little background about myself. I'm not the person to think every noise in the middle of the night is a ghost, and I don't have an overactive imagination like that. I'm also a total amateur when it comes to what type of paranormal stuff is out there. But I grew up Christian in a house that had activity throughout my childhood by a non-threatening presence. I have never felt uncomfortable and targeted like I do now since moving into our new apartment. Me, my girlfriend, and our roommates moved in 9 months ago, and right away we had 10 to 15 experiences in the first few months. Things slowed down after we saged, and my mom always prayed over our dwelling and doorways. My mom passed away a month ago, and since then the activity has ramped up to higher levels than it was when we first moved in. It's gotten to the point that I'm just looking for any input as to what may be happening here and how to get rid of it, because we are going through enough as it is and we can't even get a good night's sleep at this point. When we first moved in, my girlfriend and I were repeatedly awoken around 4 a.m. from noises, creaks, and scratches coming from the corner of our room that borders our balcony and outside. I would hear whispered conversations coming from that corner in the middle of the night when I was playing video games there. I could hear it even with my headset on, and it was completely inaudible from anywhere else outside our apartment. We would also hear a lot of noises coming from our closet, which is where I personally feel the most uneasy. This is where it gets to be too obvious to ignore. After multiple nights of being woken up around 4 is when we told my mom. The following day at 4:30 p.m. I was washing dishes and I see our front door slowly creep open and stayed cracked for 3 seconds before closing. I ran right out after whatever just tried to get in, and nothing. Mind you, we live in an apartment with a long hallway and always hear when people are walking down the hall. Nobody there. Next day, I was telling my roommates about what happened, and at the same moment, at 4:30 p.m. again, our front doorknob slowly turned open, but our deadbolt was locked, and the door jiggled a few times loudly. I sprinted with all of my being to see if there was someone in the hall this time, and I made it out the door within seconds, and there was nobody. I would have heard someone sprinting to get out of eyesight by the time I got there. Well, turns out, my mom let me know she prayed over all of our doorways that no spirits or unwanted beings could enter our living space. I think whatever was bothering us got expelled and was trying to get back in. Fast forward 7 months. Things have been quiet for the most part. My mother's health declined and we had to go down to be with her. She passed while we were there, and since then, the activity has been through the roof. I don't know if it's the grief or what, but we have really bad energy around us. This is what has gone down since coming back to the apartment 2 weeks ago. Number 1, loud scratch at the door right when my girlfriend turned the light out for bed, which sounded like our dog. Both our dogs and I were still not back at this point. She saw a big shadow at the door and her legs went numb. Number 2, knocks and creaks coming nightly from the same corner as when we first moved in. Number 3, voices while showering and feeling a dark shadow presence right behind us when we are near our closet. Number 4, this one is why I'm making this whole post to begin with. I work from home, and on Wednesday when I got off of work, there was a perfect oval pile of these white flaky chips sitting on top of my dresser on some stickers I had placed there the night before. They were also scattered at the doorway entering our room. These were very thin, 1 to 2 centimeters big flakes of what looked like paint chips. They broke easily and reminded me of 3D printer plastic texture-wise. We threw it away, but there is no explanation as to how that perfect pile of unknown flakes appeared there while I was literally feet away working all day. It's not even like there is any paint or anything missing in our room. Number 5. This brings us to last night. Last night, we saged the living hell out of our apartment and prayed over all of doorways. We even put a line of kosher salt at our front doorway. I watched 3 seasons of Supernatural, leave me alone. After having done that, we felt much better. That is, until my girl was woken up at 2 a.m. to knocks and creaks and other noises coming from that same corner again. I wish I had a photo, video evidence, but I wasn't even planning on finding myself on this subreddit looking for help. Please help me, subreddit Paranormal. You are my only hope. These past few months have been a nightmare to begin with, and I've had it up to here with the shenanigans. It's time I fight back. Let me know what I need to research, who I need to yell at, who to pray to, what to burn up in this bee to make this incessant pestering stop. If it helps, I live in Arizona on Old West land. Ask me anything. Thank you, Joe Devils, the author. The story of Denny. This story takes place over several years and happened while I was in late high school, early community college. My two best friends lived directly across the street from one another. Mike had been there most of his life, and Rob and his parents moved in directly across the street. We used their street as a headquarters, chill spot, and would spend most of our days together. It was always us three, and then random friends that would come and go as well. Since Rob's house was bigger, the three of us, along with anyone else that joined, would all gather primarily in his house, and it had a large finished basement, and it was easier to just be teenagers down there. Rob also used it as his computer room and for band practice. Weird things started to happen that we couldn't explain. Entire groups of people were experiencing this, so I know we weren't crazy. It bothered some of us, but for the most part, we were just curious about it. Being teenagers, we all just instantly classified it as demons, of course. Off the top of my head, here are some isolated events. Heavy footsteps upstairs in the middle of the night. We went upstairs, grabbed kitchen knives, walked the whole house. Even upstairs, both his parents were dead asleep and didn't see anything. Upon further inspection, we noticed a $10 decoration that Rob's mom had set on the living room coffee table was smashed to pieces, just sitting on the coffee table, as if struck with a hammer. We also inspected the old grandfather clock and noticed the pendulum wasn't swinging. It usually does. The clock was icy cold to the touch. Following a party, all of us crashed in the basement. I want to say there were at least 5 people there. We kept hearing this weird 8-bit music coming from an unidentifiable source, no matter where we were looking. The sound seemed to be coming from nowhere and everywhere all at once. None of us were able to identify what the tune melody was. One of our friends got upset and went home. Another night, Mike saw a shadow figure go into the laundry room. It was a room connected to the basement, and when he turned the light on and went in there, of course, there was nothing there. All of us were accounted for, so it wasn't anyone pulling a prank. I wasn't there for this one, but Rob and Mike were hanging out alone at Rob's house and claimed that they had to lock themselves in one of the bedrooms upstairs as they felt something chasing, stalking them. They heard footsteps rush up the stairs and then at the door. Assorted random events, things being misplaced, strange sounds at night. These would happen periodically over the years. One night, Rob claims the demon showed itself to him in the basement when he was there alone. It didn't seem threatening. It was a man wearing a denim jacket, standing in the hallway propped up against the wall with his arms crossed. It then dissipated. Rob said he didn't feel threatened or scared and that he felt rather comfortable with this ghost. There was nothing malicious about it. Since we didn't have a name for it, we decided to just name the ghost Denny because of his denim jacket. We now had a name for it and would refer to this ghost as Denny for the remainder of time. Whenever we'd see Rob at school or around the town, we'd ask him if he's seen or heard Denny. I don't actually remember if he saw the apparition again, but small things would happen here or there, and we'd all just chalk it up to Denny and move on with our days. We officially stopped being afraid of it, strangely. One day, I was hanging out with Mike and his mom across the street at Mike's. Rob wasn't home, so it was just us. Mike's mom had been a local bartender in the area for decades, and we were just sharing some Denny stories with her. I'm pretty sure a Denny event happened the day prior, so we were just giving her a recap of what we'd experienced. Keep in mind, we had not mentioned the name Denny to her, as she didn't have any context, so we just referred to it as Ghost when speaking to her. She goes on to tell us that she knew that man that lived there before Rob and his family moved in. He was a local at bar she worked at, and he had apparently died of brain cancer some time ago. When we asked her what his name was, she said, yeah, his name was Dennis, but we all called him Denny. I felt like I had just been struck by lightning. Rob claims the activity has stopped completely since then. Had we given this spirit peace by acknowledging him, befriending him? Did he finally go to the other side because we learned his backstory? How is it possible that he told us his name without ever actually telling us his name? I have so many questions. That is my ghost story, told as well as I could remember it. Thank you, Matt the Martian, the author. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please, be safe.